In this session, I am going to be discuss the Model 4 topic, that is a context free and non-context free languages. So, in which the as a part of the automata theory and computability 18 CS 54, we are going to be discuss the topic in the name of session 1. The presentation milestones are as follows. Here we are going to be discuss the algorithm and decision procedure for context free languages, followed by the decidable questions and undecidable questions. So these are topics we are going to be discuss in depth in the subsequent slide. So let me see that the decidability, how for this languages, the regular languages or this automata languages and this decidable languages also we are going to be discuss. Let me see in general how this the context free languages going to be coming into the subjective at the bottom layer, that is regular languages A star, A star, B star. This is recognized by the finite automata theory. The next one is a context free languages. The example is A power n and B power n. Such languages are context free languages. Normally is for that is a non-deterministic push down automata. The w power r, that is a reverse of the w. So after discussing this, after knowing these context free languages, and we have a the Turing machines. Turing machine, that is example is a power n and b power n and c power n. So the finite number of strings going to be accept, so that is a w. So language is accepted by as a machine, that is called a Turing machine. So general concept, after glancing this, we can see some decidable and the decidable languages and undecidable, especially that is a context free languages relevance. In the context of context free language relevance, so we are going to be discuss the in depth here. So coming to this questions, most of the questions are answerable for the some region. For the some of the region, it is not answerable. So they are maybe quite maybe this is a disputable. Do not have a clarity about that answer, but some questions have the answers. Some questions have answers. So in that sense, we can have that one must be answerable. One must be answerable. So that is answerable questions may be turned into decidables, answerable questions. So not answerable or undecidable. Most of the authors saying that is not answerable is undecidable. So answerable is solvable. Some of the problems are answerable. In other words, those are solvable. Some of the answers are not answerable, so those are unsolvable, right? Unsolvable. So answerable, solvable, they are decidable. Answerable, solvable, they are decidable. Unanswerable, they are undesirable, they are unsolvable. Unsolvable. So in that sense, the most of the authors are telling about this concept, that is writing. So answerable, decidable, and they are solvable, right? So the if language L is a specifies as a grammar G, simply is a G, that is a grammar notations, call it as a G. The language is a L. If L is specified as a push down automata, use push down to CFG conversion. that is some of the authors they wrote some routines, that is conversion from push down automata to context free grammar. If L is specified as a PDA, then it may be possible to convert them into context free grammar. That is a sense that is. So if W is equal to epsilon, that is W is a string which is accepted by the language L. So if W is equal to epsilon, then SG is a null level, right? So that is a grammar, solvable grammar is a null level. Null level is a empty. Null level is a empty. So W is a the certain string which will be accepted by the language L. So that is a null level. So then accept, else reject. If it is null level, then accept, otherwise reject it. So reject it. Here the questions are clear. If you found that grammar is null level, then you can accept it or reject it. So there is no dilemma here. There is no contradiction here. There is a clarity. If it is a null level, accept it. That is the acceptance or rejection is a clarity. It is answerable. If it is accept, okay, accept it, not reject it. So that is answerable. So sometimes maybe unanswerable. Let me see that what is situation. So algorithms and decision, that undecidable questions. So given context free language L, that is L belongs to sigma star. What is a sigma? Sigma is a finite number of inputs, right? So what is a star? So that is a star is a clean star. It is a even number 0, 2, 4, so on. That is some 0, 1, 2, 3, so on. That is some finite number. Given context free language L, is it L is equal to sigma star? L is equal to sigma star. So what are all the inputs are there in a sigma, which are all accepted by the language L, sigma star, right? So star is a 0 also sometimes. So null is also acceptable, right? So that is some undecidable, that is undecidable. So undecidable is a unsolvable, right? Undecidable is a unsolvable. So in that case we can have, that is a what is that unsolvable question. So given context free language L, so L is a complement of context free. Is it L is a complement of context free, right? So is it L is a complement of L context free. So context free, L is a context free grammar. If you take it a complement of that language, that is also context free. So these are some undecidable questions, right? So language L, which is accepting some strings, that is a sigma star, something. If it complement it, then the complement of that certain language we have inputted, then complemented, we got in some language output as the complement form, then that is also context free, right? So these are some undecidable questions. Undecidable is unsolvable questions, right? So that way. So given context free language, L is a regular, right? L is a regular. So if so, that is then it is decidable. If not, undecidable. Undecidable in the sense it is a catastrophe. It is a stuck in between. So neither accept nor reject. Either this or not that. Like that. That is a that is a contradiction. That is a catastrophe. Then there is uncertainty. So such language we can say that is undecidable questions. So language L is a regular or not. It is not properly. We can know that. So the given context free language G, context free language accepted by the grammar G, practiced by the grammar G. So then is it ambiguous? Grammar is ambiguous. So that is uncertainty is there, right? So uncertainty is there. So that uncertainty we cannot clear it. We cannot clearly say that okay, it is ambiguous. okay, it is not ambiguous. So that is again, as I showed, that is isolation will be there. So oscillation will be there. It is shifting. It may be a shifting from yes to no, no to yes, right? So that is a toggling will be there between no, yes or no, right? So that ambiguity will be there. So uncertainty will be there. So that is also given a context free language G G is inherently ambiguous, right? So you can put a question. The context free language G, grammar language except by the grammar G, then G is inherently ambiguous. G is by birth itself it is ambiguous. So G is when it originates it's ambiguous. So G is naturally ambiguous. So such doubts will be there. Such questions will be arises that. So for such questions, the answer will be going to be very tough. That is right. Answer will be going to be very tough for that situation. That is. So let me say that decidability. We are familiar with the recursive definition of a function. Recursive definition of a function or set, recursive set. Also recursively enumerable set, right, and recursive sets. So recursively enumerable set and recursive sets, that is. So a recursively enumerable set which generated from the recursive set, that is again decidability will be there. So the notation of recursively enumerable set or language and recursive set survive even before the computer era. Those were there in a grammar, or when you are talking about some certain languages which later may be taken into the computer, but before the theory has developed for computers. So before even before that also this recursive set and recursively enumerable set were survived, and they supported for many theories. So that's why the computer came later. Than before that this recursive nature of kinds of were there in the literature. Now these terms are also defined using Turing machines. TM is a Turing machine. When Turing machine reaches the final state, it halts, right? So this recursive sets and recursively enumerable set are also exercised for the employing of Turing machine. So devise a Turing machine for the particular problem. So this terminology will be involved in the most of the cases. That will be confirmed when the Turing machine attain to the final state. When attained to the final state, it halts, it stops, and it declares it is accepted or rejected. So halt means it is clearly saying that it is decidable. So it is accepted or rejected. So it reaches to the pinnacle. It says, it declares the results whether accept or reject. So that is a final state. We can also call it a halts. It halts. We can also say that Turing machine model halts when Qi reaches the state Q, right? Qi reaches the state Q. That Qi, that is a current state and the next state, right? So Qi reaches a state Q and current symbol A to be scanned. So after that is a delta of Q comma A. So delta means the transition Q comma A. Q is a current state and input is A. So after Q comma delta A, it has to go to the next state. After reading, after scanning the input symbol A, it has to go to the next state. So that is undefined. Is a undecidability. So we can also say that when it halts, Qi reaches the a state Q and current symbol to A be scanned to the is undefined. So that delta of Q comma A is not clear. That is not clear. There are Turing machines that never halts, never stops on some inputs. On some inputs, it never stops. It's keep going, and maybe they are in the loop. They are in the loop. So loop, not halt cutting, never halt. So in any one of these, right, halt on any inputs in any one of these. So the clarity between language accepted by the Turing machine that halts on all input strings, and Turing machine that never halts on some input strings. So the clear idea is essentially here. Turing machine halts on all inputs, on all inputs. But a Turing machine that never halts on some inputs, right? So the inputs is the bundle of inputs, the bundle of the chunk of inputs. So all inputs may be the inverse, the inputs which are exist in the inverse. For all inputs, the Turing machine halts, and the other side, so never halts. Turing machine never halts for some inputs, not all inputs. For all inputs, Turing machine halts. For never for only few inputs, machine never halts. So this is a contradiction. So this is a ambiguity. So this is a debatable. So this is distinction or discrimination is quite essential to understand. So that is a decidability the concept will be comes, that is. So after discussing this decidability, that may be a Turing machine never also use the concept of this recursive and non recursively enumerable set, though they are exist before computer. So that those terminology going to be make inject into the Turing machine concepts also. So there we are seeing that undefined, undecidable, and there is a clarity between these all inputs acceptable and only few inputs are acceptable or not acceptable, so on, that is. So continuation of this, the language L is a subset of the sigma star 2, that is a greater than, that is a enumerable if there is a Turing machine model such that L is equal to T of M. L is equal to T of M. So that language L is a subset of sigma star is a recursively enumerable if there is exist a Turing machine model such that L is equal to T of M. So language L is a subset of sigma star is a recursive if there exists a Turing machine model M, Turing machine model that satisfies the following two conditions. So L is a subset of sigma star, that sigma star contains some certain inputs, so finite inputs. So those inputs are the language will be drawn from, language will be accept those strings, right? So that will be a subset. So then they are going to be observed if there is exist some these conditions we need to see that if W belongs to L. What is a W? W is a string which is going to be accepted by the language L. So if W belongs to L, then M accepts. M is, that is a Turing machine M accepts. So W belongs to L, then M accepts the, that is H, that is reaches an accepting state on processing. Is accepting it traverses after scanning the inputs. It traverses and it reaches to the pinnacle, or it reaches to the end, or it reaches to the accepting state. So there it will going to be finished and it will be stopped. So that is a, if the condition is here, the given string W is belongs to L, then M accept the H, that is reaches an accepting state on processing and it halts, right? So for the string W. So if string is not belongs to L, then M eventually halts. If W belongs to second condition, the first condition is accept belongingness. So here W not belongs to L, then M eventually halts without reaching an accepting state. right. So not belongs to the not belonging string, it will halts, but it will not reach the final state, or it will not state the accepting state or the finishing state. So these two conditions are true if this L is a subset of sigma star is recursive, if there is exists some Turing machine that satisfy these two conditions. Note an algorithm. So an algorithm, the usual sense is a well defined sequence of steps that always stops and produce an answer. This is a note observation. Algorithm, the usual sense, a well defined sequence of steps. The finite number of steps are put it into the algorithm steps algorithm called, then after executing that n number of steps, it stops with and produce some answers, produce some outputs. So that is the philosophy behind this halting, right? Halting and accepting the final state. So continuation of that decidability, the condition 1 and 2 uh, uh, give a guarantee that the Turing machine always halts. So always halts, accepting under condition 1 and not accepting under condition 2, right. So observe this these two conditions. So one is accepting, other is a not accepting, that is a hard status. So that it halts, accepting under condition and not accepting under condition. So that second will be not accepting by the condition. So by observing these statements, so the Turing machine defined a recursive language always halts, eventually just as an algorithm eventually terminates. So algorithm eventually terminates, so language always halts eventually. Recursive language always halt, eventually just an algorithm eventually terminates. So problem with only two answers, yes or no, can be considered as a language L. So it is showing it's saying yes or no, in between is not possible. So consider such language. Do you think those are the language L considerable, right? So an instance the problem with an answer yes, what will happen in the case of answer yes, can be considered as an element of corresponding language L. In this instance, so the particular language you can consider as an corresponding, right, language L. So if say n yes answer, if say yes answer, is it possible to consider, right? So in instance with the answer no, considers an element not in L, right. So the element in the yes case, element exists in the language. If no case, element is not exist in the language. So those instances which provide the decidability with two answers yes or no, right. So this yes or no play a very important role. So yes, it the given W string belongs to L. No, not belongs to L. In other words, it is not exist in that language L, or which is not accepted by those languages L, right. So simple yes and no say that the existence of the strings W either present or not, right. If it is present, it is yes. If it is present, that is decidable. If it is no yes, it is definable. If it is no, then it is not acceptable. It is not the given string is not available. So that fluctuation will be there, right. So that fluctuation will be there. So problem with the two answers yes or no is decidable if the corresponding language is recursive, right. So if the corresponding language is recursive, then we can say that the language is recursive, right. Yes or no, two answers are play role here. So in this case the language L is called a decidable, right. So in this case decidable, if the corresponding language is recursive, then the L is called a decidable, right. So decidable, it is acceptable, it is a terminatable, so it is a solvable kind of. problem or language is an undecidable if it is not decidable. Problem, language or solution, the answer for the particular problem is undecidable, if it is not decidable, right. So note that decidable problem is called a solvable problem, right. So decidable problem is called a solvable problems. So this solvable problems are decidable, are decidable, vice versa. So undecidable problems and unsolvable problems. Undecidable problems are unsolvable problems. So the language we can see that. So theorem acceptable, that is a deterministic finite automata A, A of DFA, A of subscript DFA is decidable. What is that? Accepting decidable finite automata is a decidable theorem. You can see that. So what is the proof for that? We have to construct a Turing machine which always halts and accept the A DFA. After constructing, we are decided to construct the Turing machine. It should able to halt after accepting the particular string, the W, that is a machine called ADFA. Note that deterministic finite automata, that is a model, we always end in some state of B, that always end in some state of B after number n transitions for an input string of length n, right. So for the strings, I said W, strings W, we have a length n. So after the n number of transition, so that ends with that string, right. So that is a deterministic model, finite model. The B always ends in some state, right. We defined a Turing machine model as follows. So let B be a DFA, that deterministic finite automata, and W is an input string, then B comma W, right. B comma W is an input for the Turing machine model M. So I have followed that is let B be the DFA and W an input string. So the B comma W, that is a transition, is an input for the Turing machine model M. We are giving input for the Turing machine, pre-decided Turing machine model. Simulate B and input W in the Turing machine model, right. Simulate, construct alternative one, so Synthetica one, so that it will be welcome the input strings W for the Turing machine model M. So that is a B machine, right. So B machine, that is. So these steps will be help us to understand more about this decidable languages. So if a simulation ends in a accepting state of B, that is a Turing machine model machine B is accepting, it is just the accepting state of B, then M accept W, right. Of course, that is, it reaches the final state and it assumes that it will definitely accept that string W. If it ends in a non-accepting state of B, then M rejects W, right. So it is either part of the true. Simulation ends accepting state B, then it accept W. If it is not accepting, it will be rejects. Right. So that is a philosophy we want to assert here. So the input B comma W, that is a machine B, it accepts the W string for model M, is represented by representing the 5 components. So that is a Q comma L comma delta, that is a delta, comma Q naught, then F is a final state by strings sigma star, and input strings W belongs to sigma star, right. So Q comma L comma, this is 8 is a W delta, so transition, so wrongly taken, that is. So that will be a representation of this decidable language. Continuation of this, the machine checks whether b comma w is a valid input. See, Turing machine model M checks whether b comma w, that is a b is a machine, it will accept the w string is a valid input. If not, reject, right? If not, reject. If it is not valid, you can reject that is, and halts, that is. If b comma w is a valid input, right? So then M writes the initial state to Q naught and turn towards the leftmost input symbol of the W, right? So when it will state valid input, so and reaches the Q naught and to move towards the leftmost input symbol of the string W. It updates the state using type questions here, type of sorry, using here delta, so that is not typification. So it updates the state using here delta and reads the next input symbol in W, right? W have n length of input symbol, so that will be reads 1 by 1, that is. So from this we have discussed the concept of decidable, undecidable and decidable languages and undecidable languages. The problems are solvable or decidable, and problems are not solvable or undecidable. So from this Turing machine model, so we have discussed those concepts. So these concepts we can considered from the literature: Elan Rich automata, computability and complexity, the first edition, Pearson Education, and KLP Mishra Chandrasekharan, third edition, Theory of Computer Science, Prentice Hall of India publications. So these are the textbooks as from the university part of the consideration. Apart from these textbooks, there is also the reference books called Hopcroft, Motwani, Woolman, Hopcroft, Motwani, Woolman, Introduction to the Automata Theory, Languages by this Pearson Education, Michael Sipser, Introduction to the Theory of Computation, third edition, Cenghiz 2003, John Martin, Introduction to Language and Theory of Computation, third edition, that is Tata McGrail Publications. From these books we can consider or borrow the most of the concept. Thank you for patient listening of the topic algorithm decision processes for context-free languages, especially the decidable questions and undecidable questions. Thank you once again.